Hey everybody, I'm just going to go over some needle differences today and some things about them, some commonly asked questions about our needles. First thing I'm going to go over is the differences between our premium needles and our standard needles. Premium would be in the white box, standard would be in the black box. The premium needles are ever so slightly larger. The pins are going to be a tiny bit larger. Even though it'll say the exact same millimeter size diameter, they're just ever so slightly larger because there is differences in tolerances between these. So for example, on the standard needles, I like to go with the 7 mag standard needles. I go with the black box. I just like a slightly longer taper and a tiny bit smaller of a pin to them, a little bit smaller of a needle. But that's me. You know, I do a lot of black and gray. I think they still work great for color. So the premium needles, they go through an extremely rigorous screening process to make sure that every single one is flawless. For example, say I use a standard needle one day and I'm looking through it with an eye loop. You should always eye loop every needle, no matter what company you buy from, no matter who you know, what type of needle is, anything. So I'll eye loop one of my standards, and maybe I'll find like on a 9 round, one of the 9 is just ever so slightly lower. We're talking a fraction of a millimeter. That is much less likely to happen when you're ordering the premiums. That's why you pay a little bit more for them. But we always want to keep our standard needles in stock for people who really do, you know, a ton of walk-ins and don't care that much. So walk with me down here. This is our warehouse. These are all our premium needles, well, generally in one spot. And here's some of our standard ones. For example, I like the standard mags. The standard mags have a little bit longer of a taper. They, like I said before, they're just ever so slightly finer. They're a little bit smaller of a diameter, even though they still say they're the same diameter. It's just my preference. That's the type I like. The premium needles I use a lot of. I don't have to worry about them as much. I'm getting such more consistent of a needle. And hey, this is my warehouse. I can just walk here and take what I want and leave, which is a great convenience. That's one of the benefits of owning your own tattoo supply company. Some of the needles that I use the most of are the straights. The straights are really good. It's a more traditional standard line. You're just getting, without using, say, a round shader. Round shaders for me sometimes, I get a little bit too brush stroke where I'll see a gap in between the line, whereas the straights are soldered just the right size. So that way you still get a nice, thicker, broader line than you're gonna get with that same size needle in a standard one. But you're not gonna get too wide of one where you'll see gaps between the lines and have to go over the line twice. Now the standard premiums, like say a 5 round liner premium, I'm gonna get a soldered down line that's not too tight but not too loose. It's just that standard run-of-the-mill round liner that you just it's kind of your go-to. Now the bug pins in the premium I really, really like because I'm getting a really fine, tight line for that size needle, but I'm not getting it's not soldered down too far to where I'm cutting the skin. That's one of the problems I always had with buying needles was I would get a bug pin or a tight. You see, you know, similar. The tight would be soldered down too tight, so it would actually cut the skin and not put the needle into the skin, you know, and just put the ink in. Now down to our standard needles. I keep all the mags in my drawer. I keep all those standard needles, like I said, because I like a little bit longer taper. So these needles are gonna have slightly longer taper than the premium needles. They're both long taper. Premiums are like a medium long taper, and these are a long taper. So if you like long taper needles, these are the ones. Okay, so the premium mags, I also keep these in my drawer for when I'm doing color pieces, especially traditional color. They just kind of tend to pack color in a little bit differently. I got some guys in my shop that swear by these over the standard mags. All right, well, I guess that's it. I'm sure there's probably more questions that you might have about details and, you know, different sizes, things like that. But feel free and call us anytime or email us, and we'll give you as quick a response as possible and answer it the best way we know how. Thanks for watching, guys.